Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST Baltimore Positive. You know, these are the conversations I like, where we cross from the field onto jurisprudence and gambling and gaming law and discipline decisions. I follow this guy out on Twitter. You're South Florida based, aren't you? Are you? Yes.
New York City born and bred, but as of 2000, South Florida based.
You live down here.
Yep.
Daniel Wallach is the nation's foremost legal authority. I do follow him. He's a go-to guy to discuss all sorts of legal things, and also he went to the Maldives last year, so I checked that out. Can you drink in the Maldives or no? I was told it's like Sharia law, right? Like you can't.
You can do anything at the resorts. The law, the Muslim population. Obviously, when you're in the city or the capital, it's a different ballgame.
Observed, sure.
But the resort, it's a constellation of like 100 like private islands or little islands where there's a resort that basically owns that island or leases that island, and what takes place within those islands stays on those islands.
Do you know about the Maldives, Luke? Do you know?
No.
So you can Google the Maldives, M-A-L-D-I-V-E, Maldives, M-A-L-D-I-V-E-S, the Maldives, and just get an image, just get a picture of what the Maldives look like. And, you know, when it first pops up, he liked going across the bridge to Miami Beach. He said, man, that water is beautiful here.
You haven't seen anything yet. I live here. Yeah. You can't even compare. The Maldives is one of the most desirable, beach or tropical vacations or honeymoon spots in the world.
I'm seeing the photos
it's
now.
pretty badass.
Yeah, it's pretty good. 12 hours to get to Turkey, a 10-hour layover, and then another 10-hour
It just
flight.
means I get to read better books or what. I went over to Japan and Korea. I don't get into all that. But I love traveling the world, and I think it does give a perspective, especially for a person in a legal space like yourself, in any walk of life, to travel a little bit is to learn a little bit about the world.
Yeah, I don't know how much I learned about the Maldives while I was there, because it is sort of a self-contained luxury resort. You're not really interacting with the citizens or going to museums or art galleries. You're basically basically enjoying your honeymoon and living on the beach. But I will say one thing, one takeaway from the Maldives, besides the amazing time that my wife Natalia and I had, that place is overrun with like hermit crabs. You know what hermit crabs are?
They run around and pinch your feet.
Yeah. But they're not as like stupid as I thought. We were amazed by how they organize with each other, right? And how they plot
a colony,
how they plot attacks. Because we fed them. Right, we threw fruits, crumbs, and I was watching one day. There was like a hermit crab that wanted to get access to this, to this piece of fruit. So he basically, instead of confronting the other hermit crab head on, he kind of went circuitously around the back.
My cat does
and
that.
Attacked the hermit crab with the food from behind, like WWF style.
Steel cage match. Dude, for you with the law, there's a million places I could go with you.
Don't you want to stay on hermit crabs?
No, the Astros and cheating in sports and what that will do to gambling, right? Like, so when I think about all of this, and I go back to Tim Donaghy and cheating in the NBA and throwing numbers and all of that where the law is and who's going to play policeman in controlling things, even within the framework of the game, right? Baseball, they had a systemic cheating thing that no one could catch in the middle of it. It's now, but from a legal standpoint, once this handicapping and gambling goes really online to where I'm going to walk into the new LA stadium or the new Vegas stadium and I'm going to get action on my app, I still wonder who's the policeman in deciding whether I win or lose that bet. And you're the legal guy, so I'll leave it at your desk on this.
Okay, let's also separate the notion as a ticket buyer that you have any rights other than the right to a license. To watch the game, show up, and watch from a particular location.
And if I get hit in the head with a baseball, I can't even sue them.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where your entitlement ends. You have no cause of action, no claim to any outcome, anything that happens on the field, any controversy, any cheating scandal. Your rights end at the right to watch the game from a particular spot. And the case law on that is abundant. I think 10 years ago, a Jets fan brought a class action lawsuit to try to recover damages over the Bill Belichick Spygate scandal. And the court threw that out because
I'm laughing at it.
Yeah,
Luke's shaking his head.
And then the no call last year with the New Orleans Saints. And
we
the
tort
NFC
reform in this country. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the fans and consumers are going to constantly bring these attention-getting lawsuits against the sports organizations because of the controversy. Maybe they had a bet riding on the game, or they were playing.
Well, just take the Saints game last year, championship game. You know, that one play, one pass interference affects the outcome. I mean, there's always one thing that's going to change rules or get people up in arms about things, right?
Yeah, but these sports leagues are private associations. They're self-governing. They make the rules for deciding, how games are decided, making disciplinary decisions, decisions on integrity issues. As fans, we don't have a consumer right to police that.
But when they're in on the bet and there's cheating going on within the framework of what they're doing, that's all.
Well, how can you? Okay, there are several impediments to that, and I'm not saying that the fans don't have a right to be angry when that happens. I would be angry if I took if I bet on the Yankees in the 2017 ALCS and betting wasn't legal at that time in Florida or New York. I'd certainly be a little irritated that I can't collect on my bet, but the commercial relationship I have is only with the betting company. I don't have an arm's length business relationship with the leagues, and the courts will never recognize ticket holder or fan standing to sue over what takes place between the diamond.
What is sticky about this? What is sticky for the leagues and Vegas, and how, nefarious activity would be, right? I mean, coaches throwing games, players throwing games, refs throwing games. But they avoided Vegas, and this league specifically wanted I don't know anything, I don't hear anything, it's not on ESPN, we're not going to have real point spreads, to now wanting to drink from the nectar of, how much money there's going to be for gambling. And I think that's the slippery slope. I mean, you can go into Jersey and make a digital bet. You can't do that. All that's going to change. It's going to be the wild, wild west at some point.
Oh, it won't be the Wild West. It will be regulated. It will be regulated and tightly regulated by state gambling agencies and potentially even, law enforcement if anything amiss were to take place. The benefit of a regulated sports wagering industry is transparency, accountability, licenses are issued, vetting, suitability. You don't have any of that stuff taking place in the illegal markets. You can go on your phone right now and bet on any of the illegal offshore websites. They're not going to block you. They'll take
your action. Yeah.
They'll take your action. And what if you were to have a dispute over the outcome of a bet? Who do you think is going to win that dispute? You have no recourse against any of these companies that are operating beyond the long arm of U.S. law. If you're dealing with a state-licensed betting company, you have a state agency, you have a cause of action, and you have the ability to bring legal action.
Well, it's a lottery ticket or a horse racing bet, or being in Vegas, right? Literally.
Yeah, but scandals have existed, and missed calls and controversies have existed regardless of whether sports betting is legal. I mean, every year there are new scandals. I can go back to the pine
horse
tar
racing, people holding tickets at a horse race where there's an inquiry, right?
Right.
About whether we take the horse down or put the horse up. The ticket's the ticket, right? You can be pissed as you. I've been at a million horse tracks where that happens.
The stewards make that call,
right?
And Major League Baseball, the NFL, they decide whether the calls stand or get reversed. They decide how to discipline their own players, officials, and employees. Fans have no ability to intrude upon the decision-making of a private association. And for as long as sports have existed, there have been controversies and missed calls. I mean, the name Don Deckinger probably still sticks in the craw. How about a little bit too close to home, Nestor? Jeffrey Mayer.
I was at that game. I was 50 feet away. It was terrible.
Imagine a prop bet centered around that. Will the Yankees score a run?
Right, sure.
How does that get decided? Should Major League Baseball be the fall guy and the bad guy because the outfield?
But they couldn't police their own situation with the Astros, I guess is my point. You know what I mean? That as a self-acting police, and I've talked a lot about this in the recent weeks about baseball, who does police that internally and who looks the other way. And, obviously in the baseball thing, I've compared it to professional wrestling, and Luke's a big wrestling fan, but where everybody has to stay kayfabe. Everybody, maybe the Republican senators, everybody has to stay on one message. And with baseball, the cheating thing has been, part of the inside of that. And who's to police that? That's all. And
it took a it took a witness. It took a
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It took a witness to bring information about that forward. Major League Baseball can't get on the inside of these locker rooms and determine, who's in on the garbage can, scandal and who's banging the garbage can. It required basically a witness or somebody to come forward. And once that pitcher, who's now with the Oakland A's, came forward, Major League Baseball investigated. They levied the most severe suspensions in the history of the game.
But the players are walking right now.
Well, that's debatable. Certainly, I think the organization bears the ultimate responsibility. I think it's an open question as to whether you can individually discipline some of the players. I mean, who's responsible for it? But this was sponsored and supported at the highest levels of the organization by the manager, the bench coach. They're the ones who face the ultimate responsibility and the accountability for it. But I agree, players, should face some discipline for this, but who did what is an open question, and it's difficult for Major League Baseball to properly get at. I guess it is possible, but I thought that this discipline was as severe as I would have expected. 3 well-respected baseball men are gone. The manager of the Astros, the general manager of the Astros, the would-be manager of the Mets. Forget the monetary fine, the loss of first-round and second-round amateur picks in consecutive years. What more could you ask for? Major League Baseball did do an investigation and did issue very sweeping, severe punishment. The only thing beyond that could have arguably been done would be player-level suspensions. But what they cannot do, and what can never do, is change the result of what has already happened. You can't unring the bell.
Well, you're not going to undo the parade, is what we've talked about.
Yeah, the Astros won the World Championship, and that would set a terrible precedent because who knows what else may have happened on other teams. I mean, remember Gaylord Perry with a spitball? Sure. Cheating and gaining the upper hand through illicit means is as much as part of the game of every sport.
Even taking the air out of the footballs.
Yeah. What we're faced with now are electronic and technological enhancements that make it easier to pull off the caper. And I think that's where Major League Baseball wants to draw the line between just gamesmanship and basically cheating through electronic surveillance. That's a line that's been drawn in the sand, and what Major League Baseball wanted to accomplish here was to basically read the riot act to the rest of Major League Baseball, to teams, to managers, to personnel, that this could lead to your expulsion from the game. We can't go back and jerry-rig and change results because we don't know how widespread it was, which particular games were affected, and it opens up a Pandora's box of trying to change what has already happened.
Appreciate you coming by. You guys are pulling us on the high sign. Daniel Wallach, the nation's foremost legal authority in the fields of sports gambling. You can follow him out on Twitter. I do. Follow him to the Maldives. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.